Karen claimed her flowers were stolen, but she planted them on my land and got sued. The garden was my sanctuary. Every morning, I'd step into my backyard, coffee in hand, and breathe in the quiet beauty of my roses. Karen roses. To be exact, their crimson petals glowing like embers in the dawn. They weren't just flowers. They were my late mother's legacy. Planted years ago on the edge of my property. I tended them through seasons, through storms, through grief. They were mine, as much as the land I'd inherited from her. But then Karen moved in next door, and everything changed. Karen was the kind of neighbor who smiled too widely and spoke too loudly, her voice cutting through the peace like a siren. She'd wave from her porch, her blonde bob bouncing, and offer unsolicited advice about my lawn, my fence, my life. "You should trim those roses," she'd say, eyeing my garden with a glint I couldn't quite place. I'd nod, keep my distance, and hope she'd leave me alone. But Karen wasn't the type to stay out of things. One spring, I noticed new rose bushes along the border of our property's Karen roses, identical to mine, their roots sinking into my soil. I confronted her politely, assuming it was a mistake. "Oh, those are mine," she snapped, hands on her hips. "I planted them to beautify the neighborhood. You should be grateful." I showed her the property line, marked clearly on the deed, but she laughed it off. "That old paper? Nobody cares about that. Those flowers are mine now." Her audacity stunned me. I let it go, hoping she'd lose interest. I was wrong. Weeks passed, and Karen's roses multiplied, creeping further onto my land. She'd water them ostentatiously, humming loudly, as if daring me to react. Neighbors started whispering some thought I was petty for caring. Others saw her entitlement plain as day. I tried talking to her again, but she screamed theft, claiming I'd stolen her roses. She even called the police, tears streaming down her face as she pointed to my mother's bushes, accusing me of uprooting them. The officers, confused, told us to settle it civilly. I decided then, this wasn't about flowers anymore. It was about principle. I hired a surveyor. The results were clear. Every one of Karen's roses stood on my property. I sent her a formal letter, demanding she remove them. She responded by posting on the neighborhood app, painting me as a greedy bully stealing her flowers. Comments piled up, some defending her, others calling her out. The tension grew, splitting our quiet community. I didn't want a war, but Karen had drawn a line, and I wasn't backing down. Then came the twist. Mrs. Ellis, the elderly widow across the street, approached me one evening. Her hands trembled as she handed me a worn notebook. "It's my husband's," she whispered. "He was the county surveyor 30 years ago." Inside were detailed sketches of our properties, confirming my land's boundaries and revealing something else. Karen's house sat on a sliver of my property, a clerical error from decades ago that no one had caught. Mrs. Ellis had kept quiet, fearing conflict, but seeing Karen's lies pushed her to speak. "She's no victim," she said, her voice firm. "Do what you must." Armed with this, I consulted a lawyer. We filed a lawsuit not just for the roses, but for the land itself. The neighborhood erupted. Karen doubled down, rallying supporters with sob stories about her stolen garden. She'd stand in her yard, clutching roses, crying for the cameras when local news caught wind. "He's destroying my dream," she wailed. But the evidence was undeniable. The roses, the land, even part of her porch mine, legally. The court date loomed, and the community held its breath. The trial was a spectacle. Karen, dressed in mourning black, spun tales of her love for gardening, claiming I'd harassed her for years. My lawyer presented the surveyor's notes, the deed, and Mrs. Ellis's testimony. Karen's face paled as the truth unfolded. The judge ruled in my favor. Karen had to remove her roses, pay damages, and most shockingly vacate the disputed land. Her porch would be demolished. The courtroom fell silent as she sobbed, but I felt no triumph, only a hollow ache. This wasn't the peace I'd wanted. Karen moved out a month later. Her roses were gone, ripped from my soil, leaving scars in the earth. My mother's garden survived, but the joy I'd once found there was tainted. Neighbors stopped speaking to me. Some saw me as a victor, others as a villain who'd pushed too far. Mrs. Ellis visited one last time, her eyes sad but resolute. "You did what was right," she said. "But right doesn't always feel good." She passed away soon after, her quiet courage a fleeting light in the mess. Now I tend my roses alone, their beauty a bittersweet reminder. Karen's gone, her house sold, but the neighborhood hasn't healed. The line between justice and vengeance blurs in my mind. I won the land, the flowers, the fight, but at what cost? My mother's garden, once a haven, now feels like a battlefield. I wonder if I should have let Karen keep her roses, if peace was worth more than principle. But then I remember her lies, her audacity, and the truth Mrs. Ellis risked everything to share. The roses bloom brighter this year, but they can't erase the bitterness. I walk my garden, haunted by the fight, wondering if I was the thief after all, stealing not flowers, but the fragile harmony we all shared. What do you think? Was I right to fight for my land, or did I let justice blind me to compassion? Share your thoughts. Where does fairness end and vengeance begin?